welcome to 500 Doors Real Estate. Now, this is formerly known as Kim Talks Real Estate. I'm your host, Kim Hayden, and I'm so glad that you're taking a moment of your time to listen in to all these extraordinary guests that I have on my show that are here to share insight as to how they became a top performing real estate agent, how they can serve you as the real estate agent. We are focused on socially responsible and obtainable and sustainable strategies to serve our communities and our clients alike. Understanding real estate is a dream for many that we as real estate professionals have the ability to bring the dream to reality while building better communities and being the best person we can be, being the change we want to see. So before we get started, be sure that you pop over and check out 500-doors.com. This is my home here. I want to see you there. We got lots going on, and we'll talk later about that. So our guest today, and I will tell you, here's the truth, folks. I invited Luke because with his bio picture, you got to see this, looks surprisingly like Jake Gyllenhaal. Beautiful blue eyes. But Luke is really what we should all inspire to be. Luke is a real estate entrepreneur who sells, leads, and invests. And I love the word leads in there. He is a best-selling author who has purchased 40 rental properties before turning 40 and has a passion for trying to change lives through real estate. But leader, father, real estate agent, I am super excited. This is the kind of guy we all need to know. Let me bring Luke in here. Welcome, Luke. How are you?
I am fantastic, Kim, but I feel like you may have oversold me just a little bit.
Oh, no, we all need to own our genius. In this world today, if we're good people, we need to own that because there's a lot of negative out there, and it's time for those of us who are good and leaders to step up to it. So we're going to just dive right in here, Luke. Who are you and where are you?
So I am in Louisville, Kentucky. As you mentioned in my bio, I am a real estate agent. I am also a real estate leader. I lead a team of over 20 agents, and I'm a real estate investor. So I have purchased 40 investment properties before turning 40. Sadly, I'm not going to be able to have that number grow because I just turned 40 a couple of days ago. But like I said, I'm a father. I coach numerous sports for my kids. They are my passion. They are my life. But in addition to that, I am looking to change lives through real estate. So I bring my kids along for a lot of that too, because I want them to understand what we do and how the work that I'm doing on a daily basis can positively impact our community and beyond.
I love the fact that you just used my favorite word, or one of my two favorite words, community. Community is we as real estate agents, and Luke and I were talking about this just before we started. I really feel that social media and online lead generation, for many new agents, they feel that that's the only way to do this. And the reality is, what is can we break down the phrase social media? Where are you getting your social? You don't get that from sitting behind a keyboard. You get it from being out in the community, right? So let's dive into, so you have this huge team. So we're going to just go right into all the real estate stuff because everybody wants to know, first of all, how long were you in the business before you started growing that team? And what did that growth process, give me the truth, give me all the dirty, all the pain, growing pains. What was that growth process like?
So I was not in the business long before we started growing the team. So I have a phenomenal real estate mentor, a guy named Jay Pitts, who I have known since we were 5 years old. And I was actually in the corporate world for a long time. I had a corporate 9 to 5. I was in strategic marketing and data analytics. And my wife was an agent working for Jay. And my wife one day says, she was like, it would be fantastic if while you're commuting home every day from downtown out to the suburbs, if you were licensed, you could just stop in and show houses and she wouldn't have to go out during rush hour. So that's what I did. Is I just got licensed part time just to be able to help her out, and I fell in love with it almost immediately. Um, and Jay was in a spot where he was in the process of trying to grow his team, and I had grown teams in the corporate world before, and so it was a natural transition and a natural fit to be able to come over to help with that process. He had a great vision in place. I had some background with some of that growth. And so you marry those two things together. And then we were able to, just experience, I won't say that it's pain free, but we have been able to grow fairly quickly. I mean, so we went from just a couple of agents that I had underneath me, to a matter. I mean, that was in 2017 when we started doing that. So 5 years, and now I'm up to over 20. You ask for the kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Um, really kind of going from 4 to 8, 4 to 10. That's kind of the easy part, right? It's just like anytime you make a transition into a new venture. The beginning, the first 6 months, that's the easy part. You're running off of adrenaline and excitement, and everything is fun. Everything is great. Even the hard times, even the times you're getting kicked in the teeth, you're having a ton of fun. Uh, but kind of going from 10 to 15, 10 to 20, that's when things get difficult. It's very similar to that transition. Like I said, the first 6 months are pretty easy, but kind of 6 to 24 months, when you haven't really, you haven't gotten your full bearings yet. You're not making up that income that you lost from being in the corporate world before. That's when things get difficult. That's when things get challenging. And that's when you really have to dig in, and you have to rely on the plan that you put forth on the front side. So you've got to go back to that plan, and you have to work it every day, even when it seems like you're just spinning your wheels and you're not actually going anywhere. You have to have faith that the work that you put in, the plan that you put in, and what you're doing is leading you to that next level and that next step.
So this, okay, you have like literally, if you could see so just so you know, Jay, and people who watch this regularly know why I'm looking down. My desk is a glass top flat desk. And so, because I'm working to be more organized, and I find that if I don't have paper that I can keep shoving in a stack, and I have to erase my desk, I can get it. So you've left me with huge amounts of things. First of all, good on you for coming into the business after your wife. My husband and I did the same thing.
Yeah.
So I got in, I planted the seeds, I created the moms and tots groups, and I got the community backing me. And my husband came in with his corporate experience, like yourself, and he was really good at um, the negotiating side. I am not I mean, I'm a little bit of a softie. I want to see everybody win, and unfortunately, not everybody can win in a negotiation. Somebody's got to give on both sides, typically. And if you have a strong market, one way or the other, somebody's not going to feel very over. My husband's great at that, but
It's very interesting because my wife and I were in that exact same boat. She used it because she hated playing bad cop and delivering bad news, and she just had a difficult time with that. And it's not that I enjoy giving bad news. It's just I'm not afraid of the confrontation piece of it, and I I created a system for how I deliver those messages and how I present myself there. And so when it came time to the really difficult negotiations, since I was licensed, she would just hand me the phone and say, "Oh, hey, I'm in the middle of something right now, but my husband, who's licensed and also on our team, he'll he can walk you through. He's familiar with all of it." And so she'd hand me the phone. She'd go off and do whatever, and then leave me to play bad cop all the time.
it
Um,
got to the point in our listing evaluations. I say, if you hear from me, it's good news. If you hear from Doug, it's not so good news. So, but my husband, and I agree with you. My husband he's a really, actually, most people will say that he's a little bit too much of a softie. He is a really great guy. I'm so blessed and honored to be his partner in all things, raising children, having a business, doing everything that we've done. But he doesn't take it personally. And I think a lot of women, this is where we see that challenge in real estate. We have, what are our numbers? 62% of licensed real estate agents now are female, with the average age at 54. Yet the highest revenue generators for GCI are males still. And I do think it's that conversation, those hard conversations. But I want to go back to hard conversations. I want to, if you're open to it, I'd like to pick your brain a bit more on team building, because this is a really big thing for a lot of people. A lot of our major brokerages out there don't have a, they say that they have all the internal courses and classes, but they don't have that person front and center that is the team lead. They just don't, because either A, we're at 100% commissions, they don't have the budget for it. B, they're so large, they don't have the people. Everything's very remote, but a lot of people need that in your space, that sit next to me and have a physical coffee kind of team lead.
Mhm.
What do you find is your biggest challenge as a team leader? Because that's really what, yes, you have 20 people, but at the end of the day, you're kind of like dad, right? You've got to
Sure.
grow all these people to the most. What is the biggest challenges you face in being a team leader and keeping your team engaged and showing up?
Sure. So I I have I have grown significantly in my time as a leader, and my challenges have changed over the years. And I can tell you the challenge that I faced in the beginning, which I have slowly gotten better. But the big challenge that I faced, that I see a lot of leaders facing, is so as we're growing this team, most of the agents that are coming in are brand new to the industry agents. So it is like teaching a baby deer how to walk. In some of these cases, they're drinking from a fire hose. They're trying to get all this figured out, and it's challenging. So they need a lot of handholding. And in the moment when the quote unquote bullets are flying, they need answers quickly. They need responses quickly. And so they're asking me for help about how to negotiate a situation, how to navigate a conversation, something like that. What I should have been doing was asking what they think, getting their thoughts on it, letting them try to figure it out, and then just kind of go back and just correcting, small little minor errors and letting them do it on their own. But as any parent knows, that when your kid is maybe 3 years old, 4 years old, they're learning how to tie their shoes. Um, it's we're trying to get out the door, we're hustling in the morning, and they're so slow tying their shoes, and at a certain point you're just like, oh, just let me do it, we're in a hurry, just let me do it, and I completely do it for them. And before you know it, they're 7 and 8 years old, they're going to school, and you have to find shoes with Velcro because they don't know how to tie them. It's the same thing with teaching these agents. Is I was just giving them the answers, I was spoon feeding everything. Um, and so it did a couple of things. One, it made them not understand or realize how to actually think for themselves. And it made them very reliant on me. It got them a little bit, I'll use the word lazy, where they weren't actually going out and thinking for themselves, but it wasn't their fault. It was my fault. I spoon fed them all the information. I gave them everything they needed, until a certain point where I thought, you know what, you need to go out and you need to do this on your own. So instead of slowly transitioning him into that, it's like I would just cut them off and say, hey, you've been here long enough. You need to go out and try to figure this out on your own. I can't continue to spoon feed everything. Um, that was absolutely the wrong approach. What I needed to do was take the time in the beginning to not give them the answers, but help them learn how to find the answers. So, like I said, that was my big challenge in the beginning. Now I'm at a stage where I'm very, very upfront with agents during the interview process. As they're looking to join our team, as they're looking to join our brokerage, we're having conversations that say, hey, look, I will help you with anything that you need. I am here for you. I will help you get to the next level where you want to be. If you want to be a large contributor on our team, if you want to be in leadership on our team, if you want to be a large independent agent, if you want to go out and start your own team, your own brokerage, I will help you do that. I will build the plans for you, but I can't work it for you. I'm not going to drag you across the finish line. I'm not going to call you every single day to see if you did your prospecting, if you made your calls, if you talked to the people you needed to talk to, if you were following up on your deals the way that you needed to. I need you to have this version of productive independence where you're going out and working and then coming to me when you're getting to a spot where you're stuck. Again, I will help you get unstuck in anywhere you need, but I need to see that you're doing work. And sometimes that's difficult and challenging, that you find agents who just they kind of drift off, right? They're not doing the things that they need to do, and they almost kind of fall to the background, and I forget about them. And instead of I have to find the balance of doing regular periodic check-ins, um, but also not overstepping and then just giving them everything right from the very beginning and not teaching them how to think for themselves.
Well, and there is a fear of micromanaging and I know some team leads, it's like you have to be on a call every morning at 7 a.m. and um, it's almost like they waterboard people, right? In the sense that it's like, you're not doing this, you're not thinking positively, or you're not, you don't have the right mindset and all this other stuff. And the reality is when a market turns, or a client gets sick, or you have an absolute nutter getting divorced. Like, come on, we've all had one of those.
Absolutely.
The reality is that's not mindset. That is, sometimes you're dealing with you're almost hostage in some of these, right?
Sure.
What's the number one myth? Oh, before we go there, everybody, please, if you're enjoying the conversation, like, subscribe, comment, and share, because we all know sharing is caring. Had to put that out there. If your kids watch Care Bears ever, any of the old ones, that's the I totally stole that. I hope they don't sue me. But yes, so what is the number one myth you think new agents are just inundated with about real estate?
Well, and so I hear it all the time as I'm interviewing new agents. I'm asking, so hey, why why real estate? Why are you wanting to transition out of what you're doing into real estate? And one of the biggest answers I get is flexibility. And one, you have to help them understand that it's not super flexible, especially in the beginning when you're really trying, when every sale counts, every interaction counts. You have to be able to jump and run when the market is as hot as it is. So your flexibility goes out the window. But even when you do have flexibility, I have to help them understand that flexible hours don't mean optional hours, that the work still has to get done.
Absolutely. That brings us around to National Association of Realtors. If you're a real estate agent and you do not know what NAR is, you need to know what NAR is. NAR and CREA have some of the best stats, information, and articles that you can possibly fathom in order to be a true professional in your business. However, their stat was the statistical average income of a real estate agent in the United States is just under 50,000 a year, but they're working 30 hours a week. And are they even working productively a 30-hour week? I see agents repeatedly going, well, I did this and nothing happened. But did you do it for 3 months? Did you
Right.
do it for 3 months? Hello, folks. I didn't
Right.
get my first listing until I was 5 months in the business. But because every month I was out there delivering door hangers, not knocking on doors, but delivering something of value. So I worked with my coffee shop. I gave them a recipe. I gave them a piece of me every month. And I delivered those. And by the way, folks, I'm in Calgary, Alberta. Try doing that in January without getting pneumonia. And I took my kids, they were in the wagon, and that's what we were doing. We were out delivering 500 door hangers every month, door to door. I had a really great butt then, though. All those steps. Who needs a gym membership? Seriously. So if you're actually working your business, you don't need a gym membership, and you can create consistent income. But I do agree that a lot of them flexible hours. I mean, that's why I went into the listing side of things, is I wanted, everybody calls it the bubble. They jokingly called me the mayor of my community at one point in time because I had like 10% of all the listings going on in there.
Not a
And
thing wrong with it.
not a thing wrong with it. But I did that because I wanted to be close to my kids' school. I wanted to be, available. We talked about flexibility. I knew that I couldn't take appointments between 3 and 5, so we could get them to their after-school activities. And I knew between 7 and 9, I was doing Girl Scout leading. But that gave me 2 hours there. That gave me 6 hours there. That's flexible.
Sure.
That's flexible, right? Um, so when you talk about, what are some of the key things you think every real estate agent should lean into when they first start? So just so everybody knows how vast this number is, there's over 200,000 real estate agents will be licensed annually, newly licensed annually in the United States alone. And out of that, 87% will not hold that license in 36 months. What are the top 3 things you think? And I'm just totally, everybody know, I'm putting Luke on the spot here.
All right.
We did not rehearse this. What are the top 3 things every new agent, whether or not they come onto your team, another team, any brokerage, it does not matter. This is about the real estate agent. Top 3 things they should do right out of school.
So right out of school, one, you need to have some system that is tracking your income and your expenses. You need to make sure that you have that so that you're withholding taxes, you're doing all that, because the last thing you want to do is have a phenomenal first year, but have to be out of the business in year 2 because you can't afford to pay your taxes because you didn't hold anything back. Number 2, and by far what I think is the most important, you need to learn how to and practice regularly having difficult conversations. Negotiation happens in conversation. Conversion happens in conversation. All of these things happen in conversation. You need to be having difficult conversation. You can't shy away from it. And you can't, I see a lot of new agents who will say, oh, I had to deliver some bad news, or I had to negotiate with the other side and I sent them a text. And I said, well, why did you send them a text? And they said, well, I thought it would be good to have everything in writing. That way I've got a written record. And I said, BS. It's not because you wanted it in a written record. You were afraid to have that conversation. Let me tell you something. They are just as afraid to have that conversation as you are. And if you're willing to step up and do it, you can set yourself up as the one who is in control, the one who is leading that negotiation, leading that conversation, if you're willing to have it. Plus, when you call them up and you just start talking to them directly, you never know when they get pushed back on their heels, what information they're going to divulge that is going to put your client in a positive leverage situation. So by sending it in a text, you are giving them time to craft a response, think about a response, and then they're understanding that you are just as afraid to have those difficult conversations, and it puts them in a position of positive leverage. This real estate game is all about leverage for our clients, and we have to keep our clients on the positive side of it. So let's see. So I gave you 2, right? I gave you
Now I need a third.
Really, I know I said it just a few minutes ago, but they need to understand that flexible hours do not mean optional hours. The work still has to get done.
Absolutely. Hey, and just so y'all know, that when National Association of Realtors did their survey, remember I said under 50,000 at 30 hours a week? When it went to 40, it went to 80,000. And when it went to 40 plus, it went to 110. So if you really want to make the 6 figures, it is there. It is not, the market's not, against you. It's you are against yourself. You're not putting the time in. And that's not like time of just meeting on the golf course. This is like actual strategy time, actually investing your time in the right place. Don't think because you put 5 Facebook posts out, you're going to hit 110,000 a year,
Kim, can I give you a real life example here?
Yes, please do.
I have 3 agents on my team who in their first full year in the business are making $200,000 in GCI. And I'm in a market, I'm not a coastal market. I'm not Los Angeles, Beverly Hills. I'm not New York. I'm not Miami. I'm not Chicago. I'm not any of these markets. I am in
What's
a
your average house price?
$243,000.
Okay, so
So
they had to do what? 50, 60 transactions?
they had to do a lot.
Awesome.
$200,000 in GCI, they're making in their first full year in the business. And these are people that aren't coming in with these large spheres of influence. However, I have other agents who are coming in their first full year in the business and they're struggling to sell 6 homes. And so they're working the same leads. They're in the same markets, the same territories. They have access to the exact same resources. It is how you choose to use them. How are they utilizing their skill sets? And how are they building those skill sets? And I asked one of them, I said, well, I don't understand. I'm working with all of these people. And I said, okay, well, let's talk about how many calls you've made. And they were like, well, I've called 20 people in the last 2 weeks. And I said, well, look at Agent Johnny over here who's calling 30 to 40 people a day and still having time to go out and sell. He's a father of 2, has no real estate experience, coming in, had 8 closed and pending in his first 9 weeks of being licensed because he hit the
Amazing.
phones hard, because he just utilized the skill sets that he had and he leaned into it and wasn't afraid to do the work. He did the work while others were making excuses. And so it's a matter of it is there, but it's all about those skill sets and the work ethic.
Absolutely. And you know what? If you're sitting there going working the phones, I'm gonna be fully transparent. I am not a good phone worker, but I
Not either.
find two. I find 2 or 3 networking opportunities, and I am darn good when we go to an event. I
But that's
will
what
I
it
will
takes,
work an
right?
entire room, so I can actually hit 20 people in an event. Right? I'll do
But that's
500 door.
exactly what it takes.
Yeah.
There's no bad way to generate a lead, right? If yours
Yep.
is networking events, if yours is geographic farming, if yours is online leads, if yours is Sphere, if yours is investors, or a combination of 1, 2, or all of those things, you have to figure out what works for you and then continue to work it. But that's the thing, is you have to do the work.
You have to do the work. You have to show up. You have to show up, folks. What does community mean to you, Luke?
Ooh, community for me, it is a group of people that have a similar goal, similar vision, similar values, who are all working together towards those goals.
That is a great definition. Great definition. Before we get your book recommendation, real quick, how many kids do you have?
2,
2?
2 boys, 13 and 10.
Oh, very cool. Oh, these are fun years. I remember my middle
Some
one
days,
was my middle one. So, what sports do they play? You look like a sports guy.
football and basketball and golf.
Awesome. And
So
golf. Oh, golf. I could so see you on a golf course. Have you ever closed a deal on a golf course?
I have never closed a deal on a golf course. I am an absolutely terrible golfer, but I love it. And I have a 10-year-old who is obsessed with golf.
Very cool. Very cool. I have my middle one. We would be, just so you know, folks, as a parent, you still got to do your time to do your work, but you still got to put the time into the kids. I have to give huge shout outs to my hubby. We lived out in the country when my middle one was in competitive swimming for 4 years. And
Ooh,
my husband would drive every morning. He would leave the house at 4:30 in the morning to drive our son to swim for an hour, hour and a half. And these are hardcore hours. Like, this is in the water. Like, this kid has shoulders like this. He's
wow.
massive. And he'd come back and he'd still do his 8, 10 hours of real estate. And then we'd take the evening, and my son would be back in the pool 3 evenings a week. So my son swam anywhere between 7 and 9 times a week. And that did not take in the little ones Girl Scout. I did Girl Scouts. I did the I was the worst Girl Guide leader ever. They put me on crafts because I'm not organized. All right. So this is where we want to go now. We want to leave you, so we've left you with some. I hope everybody has a pen and paper. This will be on replay in a few weeks on Spotify, iTunes. It'll be everywhere. I want you to grab pen and paper because Luke has dropped some serious, serious gems that can really contribute to your wealth. So do take note. This has been awesome, Luke. What is the one book you think every real estate agent should read?
Well, I know it's cliche, but it's Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and not necessarily the investment side of it. I mean that opened my eyes to a lot of things, and I have done very well through that. Um, but there is one specific quote in the book that completely changed my mindset, and he says he stopped saying I can't afford this and started asking how can I afford this. And it's not just about spending money or being able to afford certain things. It is an entire mindset shift of moving from I can't to how. I told you I've got two boys, 13 and 10. They are not allowed to say the word can't. We don't allow that in our house. They don't say can't, and they don't say that's not fair. We find solutions. We understand that situations are out there, but we go out and we find solutions.
And that is why you are successful. Because everything does have a solution if you choose to seek it, no matter how uncomfortable it is or how scary it is. And I want everybody to know who's listening to this who is afraid of making their next bill, because this is real. This is real. Not all markets move at the same pace and the same time. However, the business is there. And if you keep pushing, just remember, it is an absolute fact. It is always darkest before the dawn. And if you push and push hard, you will reap rewards. The industry is one of the oldest industries in the world. And it's there because it's opportunity. It is your job to represent people, to ensure that people's interests are preserved and protected, but also an opportunity for you to create wealth for you and your family and the generations that come after you. So Luke, I think I could sit and talk to you for hours. I think you and I could actually run a heck of a boot camp. Um, you know, if anybody has any questions, if they want, Luke, where can they reach you?
You can go to my website, lukeandrews.us, or send me an email directly. I answer all of my own emails. I don't have a VA doing that. Luke@lukeandrews.us. Send it to me directly. I love talking real estate, talking real estate investing, fatherhood, any questions that you've got. You can find me across all the social channels, Luke Andrews, RE, for real estate. And I would love to connect with anybody out there.
Awesome. Thank you, Luke. I know how valuable our time is, and for you to sit down and share this hour on your Thursday morning or mid morning or almost lunchtime there is really
Yeah.
important. Almost lunchtime. All right, folks, that is it for me today. You will find this on replay on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon, you name it. I'm on all the channels. This is 500 Doors, and I'm Kim Hayden, your host. And remember, behind every door is a possibility. Bye for now.